Hey guys, welcome back to Game Changers Podcast. This is your co-host Harsh, and with me I have Jaden.
Hey guys.
And today we have a very, very special guest, Kevin Mpunga. I hope I said that right. But Kevin, welcome to the show. You're first guest on our brand new series, our student series. Really happy to have you on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very honored to be the first one. I didn't know that, but thank you for having me. I haven't been on the podcast before as a guest, but this is going to be fun.
Definitely. And, for people that don't know Kevin, he's a University of Alberta student, one of my peers, a year younger than me, but he's definitely doing a lot of big stuff. Kevin is the founder of ELEV Homes. It's a new project that he started over the last couple of years with some team members, and they're trying to create a housing plan for students. Kevin, tell us a little bit more about what ELEV is about.
Yeah, absolutely. ELEV actually started just around this time of the year last year. Basically, when I got into the U of A, I couldn't afford living on campus, although I wanted to. I just couldn't afford it. Even the cheapest option was out of question for me. And I live 5 hours away from Edmonton, so it was really hard for me to find housing, not only because I live far, but also I had no experience with this. I had never done this before. I didn't know where to start, where to go, and what to look for. And it was really hard to not only pick neighborhoods, pick houses, schedule viewings and things like that. And that's kind of what fueled ELEV. That's from a bad experience that I went through, and that my co-founders also went through, because they all live off campus for the same reasons as I do. And basically what we want to do is we want to take that pain away from students, not only to help them find the beautiful home away from home, but also help streamline the entire process for them, not only the students themselves, but also their hosts, so the landlords and the property managers, to give them the tools, to find the great candidates, the great tenants that they're looking for, and also be able to manage their properties.
Right. And you've had a lot of experience. I mean, you're being backed by Startup Edmonton, you're talking with investors, doing some of the big shot stuff. I mean, it's like a bit of a, there's like, you're doing it on the side as a hobby compared to running a full-fledged business. I mean, how's that experience been? You have a team of a lot of members, some of them, from the U of A as well. What's that experience been like being an entrepreneur and student at the same time?
I think the past year has definitely all been about growth. I don't think I've ever been in my performance mode. It's always been in a learning mode for the past year, really. And you mentioned, being backed by Startup Edmonton, and those are the people in the community that make it less impossible than it otherwise would be, not only with financial support, but also education and networks and things like that. And in terms of, building the startup itself, it's probably been one of the greatest challenges I've ever done, probably the greatest challenges, honestly, it is. But it's
I'm sure there's a lot of mini challenges that come with that too.
Oh yes, absolutely. It's challenges within challenges, but it's also been the most rewarding thing I've ever undertaken. Although we're not near where we want to be. I consider ourselves that we haven't even started, but already a lot of work has gone into it, and it's also been already so rewarding. And I can't imagine what it would be like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, when the full vision has bloomed.
Yeah, man. Well, big props to you, because it's a big step, especially being a student. So many fingers pointing at you, so many doubts, so much, I guess, pressure on figuring things out. And even being an entrepreneur while being a student, it's definitely a challenge, because a lot of students are afraid to take that leap. They don't know what to do, and they don't know how to begin or where to begin. They're like, oh, I have this idea, man, we should do something, like we should start this up. And sometimes it never comes to fruition. But I mean, how does that develop for you, or how did that come about? When just from an idea, or just like, oh, I had a bad experience to I'm gonna make a business out of this?
To be honest, I've always kind of had a little bit of a entrepreneurial spirit in me, mostly from my dad. He's been starting businesses since ever before I was born, and he's probably started and failed, or started and succeeded 10, 20, 15 times already So I've kind of grown up with him, around him, just starting new things, whether it be full-fledged businesses or just side projects. He was always a doer and a starter of things. And I guess I kind of inherited that from him. But myself, what I do in school, I'm in the bilingual nursing program, so it's very far away from my entrepreneurial self. But I still do think that some lessons carry over. But definitely being in a nursing program has kind of been a bit challenge, I guess, in regards to entrepreneurship, because it's not a program that's really focused on that aspect. Even in the healthcare sector, it's not really the main focus. But only that, I guess my circle only extended as far as healthcare goes, and I didn't really have a circle or a network in entrepreneurship or in the business world. So I really had to start from scratch. It would have been nice if I lived in the same city or as my father, because that would have allowed me, I guess, a way in. But since I'm on my own here, I really had to start from scratch. And I think having the spirits that I inherited from him in me definitely gave me an initial boost. And I guess my personality also, with being an outgoing person and an extrovert, also really helps in reaching out to strangers and shooting my shots even when I think I don't have a shot.
Yeah, and I'd like to ask you more about that. So in my own experiences, I found that like before I started networking as a student, I wasn't too optimistic because Edmonton isn't very like business minded, you'd think, or not exactly in the place like that I'd want to be in, or even e-leasing and real estate type stuff. But for me, I found that Edmonton has a crazy amount of like entrepreneurial stuff and lots of students and people that want to help you and that want to do stuff on their own, and it's just a cool community. What are your thoughts, like with the people that you've met on this journey, and the type of stuff you see in Edmonton and the region?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of those things that you don't know it's a thing until you know it's a thing. Before I got into it, I had no idea there was this many entrepreneurs or this many startups. Not only in the business world, business students, but also students from all different faculties are starting things left and right. And at first, I thought there were probably one or two resources available to us, Startup Edmonton and things like that. But as you start creeping into it, one person connects you with another person, which connects you to another person, and next thing you know, there's a whole village, a whole culture around the city that you otherwise would have no idea it existed before. And I think that network effect has helped me in a lot of different ways. I mean, there are people that I met in January that have are, I guess, just being acquainted has become really useful in October. And I can't imagine 5 years down the road, the people I've met along the way, I'll probably reach back for one reason or another, or them reach out to me for whatever reason. So I think the main key for me has been, I guess, to do my initial search, do some Googling on the startup community in Edmonton, go to one thing, meet one person, and inevitably that one person takes you to another person and another person and so on. And I remember
the wonderful faculty as well, like the startup Edmonton, like you go to their office and it's such a great like environment that they've created for people to come in, meet other entrepreneurs, meet other people in tech entrepreneurship specifically. And also just a place to hang out, get to know other people. Like I've been there a couple of times. It's a fantastic place, and like you're right, 100%. Like there's such a nice community vibe going there, and they're definitely building up on that because they have a lot of these events that happen throughout the year. So it definitely exists, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, Edmonton, like what kind of entrepreneurship is taking place here? But I think there is a community to be had, and there's so many people like you can find, especially even student entrepreneurs. Like it doesn't just have to be people that are a lot older, a lot experienced. Like everyone wants that, I guess you could say, that time freedom or financial freedom, especially our age. And literally every second person is trying something. So there is that community. I mean, anywhere in the world you could go.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, I guess to illustrate the networking effect that I was talking about, back in January, I participated in a business pitch competition that was put on by Enactus at the U of A. I didn't win anything at all because my pitch was terrible. This was my first time doing anything like this. But I met this girl, 𝘱𝘢𝘴𝘵, and she started her own startup, Fly and Fetch. Awesome girls. And she told me to do the Y Combinator startup school. And she also connected me we connected on LinkedIn, and that's how, when she liked the post by Startup Edmonton, that's how I found out about Startup Edmonton. And that's how I applied for the Student Founders Program, which got me to meet some of the mentors and some of the friends that I currently am working with. And at that same competition, one of the judges was Tim Lin, who actually runs Startup TNT. And they're the guys who did the investment summits that I participated in October. So just things like that, one thing leads to another, has been fantastic for me. But what I will say though, that I think is probably the best thing about the Startup Edmonton, or the startup community in Edmonton, is just how diverse the whole membership is, or the whole village is. I mean, there are people from all walks of life. Like I would have expected, to see, for it to be more monotone, but it really was not. There's people from all walks of life, all ethnicities, all genders, all races, that are all. And when we come together, it doesn't feel like, we're strangers to each other. It feels like we're still family, even though we've probably never met before, or saw each other maybe once at some networking events, but there's still that sense of connectedness regardless, right? So that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's actually like I reside with that, because that's kind of how I got on this podcast. Is I met this guy, Roman, and then I met some other people, and then I saw a couple of things for like this podcast on LinkedIn, and then through the networks that I've gained through different people, I ended up reaching out and getting on this, and I think that's really cool. Like, and I haven't been to Startup Edmonton yet. I was planning to go before the COVID thing, but I probably will go after this. But yeah, in Edmonton, it seems like everything's like kind of underground until you realize like how things kind of are structured. Like everyone kind of knows each other in a different way from networking events and stuff, and it's super cool. And I've tried to explain this to people, but it's like really hard to understand at first. And I think it's really cool. Like there's a lot of passionate entrepreneurs and stuff in Edmonton.
Oh, absolutely. And, just from being around the community, not only you get to know these people that are in the same journey as you, but those who went above and beyond. I mean, there are some huge companies that even their services and products that I use, I had no idea it started in Alberta, in Calgary, and Edmonton, or some in Saskatchewan, Manitoba. It's crazy. At first, when you use software, you use products, you think, oh, probably somebody in America, somebody in California made it. But no, it's somebody in your backyard that's probably in the same Slack community as you are. Which, by the way, if you haven't been to Startup Edmonton, you can definitely join their Slack workspace. It's fantastic. They have events going on, and they have their meetups every now and then, and
like
events and
Slack, the platform.
Yes, they have a Slack workspace as well, and there's also a Startup Edmonton, or Edmonton Entrepreneurship Slack channel. I don't know if you know all about that already, but just throwing it out there. If you're not in there, I can send you an invite.
The viewers as well.
Yeah,
everyone can join. Yeah, I'd like to ask you, like, what is the process for getting investors, anyways? Because I personally, I don't really. If I were to need investments for a startup, I wouldn't know where to go as of now. And I'm sure that most people listening to this, and most students, wouldn't know either.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't even know if I know myself that well. But there are awesome platforms. A platform like Start Alberta, I think that's their goal, is really to connect folks with investors. I will say though, not many people are very active on that platform. So what I have been doing is, finding these lists of investors, and then finding them on LinkedIn and seeing if I have a mutual connection, and try and get connected from there. Other than that, people on the internet, people always say, don't cold email, don't cold email, get an introduction, don't cold email. If you can't, if you have no one to give you an introduction, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Send out a cold LinkedIn request. Of course, put a little note. This is who I am. This is why I want to be connected. And, you know, not asking for anything. You should at least be connected. Sending out emails to folks that you find. People's contact informations are all over the internet. You know, it's free to take and it's free to use. It's just, you just gotta put the big boy pants on and just go for it. Even, like you said, you know, the rejection rate is like 98%, but you know, 2% can change your life. So
that's like in this book I read, the 4-Hour Work Week. He talks about this guy. Tim Ferriss lectured students, and he gave them challenges to find to get the most high value business person and have a phone call with them. And people were able to find Tim Cook, like all these types of people, like CEO of Apple, find their personal phone number or their LinkedIn, and you can pretty much get in touch with anyone that you want to for as a business connection if you really try hard and you're not scared to be rejected. And yeah, I think it's really cool, and platforms like LinkedIn are super good for that, and it really changes the game.
Honestly, if there's any students listening to this and they haven't made a LinkedIn profile yet, I would suggest you pause it and you go make one and send as many requests as you can, starting with
and add all of us, add all three of us.
Absolutely. No, for
so
sure.
Kevin, outside of starting a LinkedIn, what advice would you give to student entrepreneurs or someone who wants to be like a student tech entrepreneur? And you know, what's a piece of advice that you'd like to give to them?
I think the number one thing is to realize that you don't know anything, and you will never know enough to, I guess, to take action. So you may as well take action right now. And the first thing that I would do is not only do the LinkedIn and send out a bunch of requests, but visit Startup Edmonton, visit Startup TNT, and try and join Slack workspaces. Startup Edmonton is a great one to start with. And if you can, you know, book they have a 30-minute free advisory session where they can, I guess, direct you on where to go. If you reach out to, this is actually the most important thing ever. Whoever you reach out to, whether or not it's related to what you're actually looking for, or whether or not it's, you know, it's going to work or it's going to get you what you want, it's going to produce something. You know, just reach out to anyone and any institution, any entity that you can, and ask for help. And somebody out there knows who you should talk to. Somebody out there knows what you should do and what you should start with. But definitely Startup Edmonton is the number one destination.
Number one.
Yeah, and people are very empathetic towards students. You say you're a student and they want to help you out.
Oh, yes. When you send LinkedIn requests, you say, I'm a young entrepreneur, just trying to learn the ropes. Would love to be connected. Love the content that you're putting out. You know, I just want to learn from folks like you who have, you know, paved the way or walked the trail already. People love that. You know, a lot of people want to give back, and whether that be in forms of money as investment, but also in form of knowledge or a free 30-hour call. Like, even if you reach out to the most big deal person that you can ever think of. If you structure your reach out, you ask politely, you ask humbly, and you ask them for 30 minutes of their time, the CEO of whatever, if they have 30 minutes, they'll give it to you because they just want to give back, right? So 100%. You just gotta reach out.
Yeah, no, you're definitely correct. I think people are just hesitant because they just expect like no one wants to help, but actually a lot of people that have gone through that process want to help others get through it too. And you know, they've learned so much, they want to share that knowledge. But Kevin, I mean, for you, I mean, what other things are you involved in? I mean, in terms of hobbies besides just, you know, hanging out with all the ladies in nursing, what else do you do?
No, I only have one lady, and she's also nursing, and she's also part of our team, which is fantastic. I get to spend a lot of times with her. Personally, as part of school and as part of the entrepreneurship journey.
So let me get this right. You're part of the Black Student Association. You're starting ELEV. You're doing all these tournaments. You're doing nursing as a program, and you're also you're dating as well, and like just so much going on. You probably, like, I don't know, what else are you doing? Are you saving the world? Are you doing climate change? Like, I don't know what else. What else
No.
are you trying to do, man?
I wish I was involved in climate change though, but this is the one thing that my mom always told me ever since I was younger, and she always said that you can be jack of all trades for all you want, but if you're not master of one, you're wasting your time. I've always been a jack of all trades. My mom always told me that you're doing way too much, you're involved in way too many things. You got to pick one and stick with it. I haven't been able to just pick one. I'm still involved in multiple things. But personally, the things that I love to do, I love to listen to audiobooks. Audiobooks are just my thing. I love podcasts as well. Oh, TED Talks. I've watched any TED Talk you can probably point out. I love reading, though I don't do it as much. I've mostly replaced it with audiobooks. I used to be a basketball player, but I don't. COVID. I try to keep myself in shape, working out, going for. I was an avid runner during the summer.
Right.
But not
so I mean,
anymore.
what helps you manage your time? Because I know, like me, also being involved in a lot of stuff, and a lot of people are involved in a lot of things these days. I mean, it always feels like there's just never enough time, right? For you personally, what's really helped you make more time for yourself, or just find that balance of, I guess everything that you're trying to accomplish?
Oh, absolutely. I think the most important lesson that I've learned is not to try and do it all at once or do too much at once. For example, reading, I think when people try and get into reading, they expect themselves to, read a chapter a day or like a book in a week type thing. I mean, that's near impossible. I would say it's always good to start with as little as possible until you build it as a habit, like listening to audiobooks or reading. I've always started with 10 minutes a day or a few sentences in a book, and you'll surprise yourself how long you may stick with the book in your hands, or you may stick with the audiobooks in your ears. And things like working out, if I tell myself I just want to do 5 minutes ab exercises every morning, and then it's going to progress to 10 minutes, it's going to progress to 15, it's going to progress to 30. I think it's most important to start building the habits first, and make sure that the small amount of time you're spending on whatever it is that you want to do is quality time, and it's consistent, and then you can build on quantity.
Right.
And scheduling ahead is always great, but never starting, because this is the other problem. People say they will start something, but they say, I'm going to start tomorrow or starting next week, or, new year, new me, we're going to start hearing this crap again. Yeah. But if you didn't do it today, you're probably not going to do it tomorrow. So if there's one thing you want to start with, start it today, and then just do it for 2 minutes, do it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then work your way out.
Yeah. Like, what you were saying there, lots of it, I heard something along the lines, like in Atomic Habits too, it said like you have to start super small, or else you're gonna be like, oh, I don't want to do that tomorrow. And like for me, like I started reading books like a year and a half ago, and my first book, it took me like 3 months to read this 200-page book, and then it just accelerated, and then like one book a month, and now it's up to like one book a week. And then sometimes I'll have my book, and then I'll read like an easier book, just audiobook in the car, and read 2 books at once. And just the way things accelerate, it's you just have to start small.
Yes. Atomic Habits is a must.
It's creating unrealistic expectations, right? Like you're saying, oh, you know what? Like people, like a lot, like for working out, a lot of people do that, right? Like New Year's comes around, they're like, oh, they make this plan of like, hey, you know what? My resolution is to lose like 30 pounds and get 6-pack abs and have like 6% body fat, and I'm gonna go to the gym like twice a day, and at 4 a.m. in the morning, and once in like after work at like 7 p.m. and I'm gonna look like this in 3 weeks.
Look like Hulk Hogan.
Exactly. It's just like creating these unrealistic expectations and putting so much pressure on yourself and making it like a task rather than like having fun with it. And I think you're completely correct. I think if you just say, you know what, I'm just gonna go there. I don't even have to do anything. I'm just gonna go there and I'll do what I want. And like if you do that to yourself, I think like people have seen a lot of success. I've seen other people actually vouch for the same things. And and I don't even know what's up with Atomic Habits, bro, because every second person I know is reading this book and people are telling me like, dude, like you need, like it's like mandatory for you to be like successful in life. Like it's like insane like how good the book is. So I have to get onto it, but it's like a two birds with one stone, because I'm trying to build a habit of reading, but I'm also want to read the book. So it's like, you know, how do I do it? But hopefully it works
Audible. Start with that.
Right. Kevin, how do you like that book? What are your thoughts on Atomic Habits?
Atomic Habits was fantastic. Like Jaden said, probably the biggest takeaway from that was to make things as small and as simple as possible, and really to put yourself in an environment where you're able to accomplish those tasks. And say, for example, the whole working out, you know, on a daily basis or consistently. I think the single biggest thing that has helped me is before I go to bed, you take your workout clothes and your socks and your shoes. I put it right beside the bed. So it's the first thing that I see in the morning, and I just roll into it. Even if I end up not working out, at least I've built the habit of putting the workout clothes on. You know, sometimes I have skipped the workout and just spent the day on those workout clothes, you know, and which is fine too. As long as you know, the next day I pick it back up, and then I'm creating that habit. You know, it's creating environments that are favorable for things that you want to see, right? That's really the key.
Right. Awesome. So, I mean, Kevin, we're coming towards a bit of a close for our podcast today, but before we go, I do want to know, you know, what's your plan? What's the big dream that you have that you're trying to achieve? You're quite young, and I really like how you said, you know, your mom says, be a master of one, but, you know, and you're a jack of all trades. But I think there's nothing wrong with being a jack of all trades, especially when you're in such a young age. I think that's exactly what you should be doing, in my opinion. I think this is a time for all of us to try a bunch of different things, have different experiences, and really see what we really like and resonate with the most, and then develop on it as time goes on. And you don't have to be the next Bill Gates. You don't have to be the next, I don't know, whoever it is, the Elon Musk. You can just be happy with yourself and with your balanced lifestyle and whatever, and doing what you love. But sometimes finding out what you love, it takes some time and a lot of dedication, and trying a lot of things and failures, and hopefully at the end of the day, you'll end up getting closer to your potential and doing what makes you happy.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I wish my mom would understand this, but she has she has ideas and visions of me becoming a doctor or whatever, and she's sticking with them.
Right. Doctor/entrepreneur.
We will see. But what's my vision? There's a TED Talk. It's called How to Achieve Your Most Ambitious Goals. I'm very sorry that I don't know who it's by, but it's called How to Achieve Your Most Ambitious Goals. But if you search up the Yarn Bomber on YouTube, TED Talk, this guy. And if you watch that TED Talk, you basically understand what my vision and what my goals are for my life. And essentially, I don't want to constrain myself to one thing my entire life. In terms of career, instead of project, in terms of companies, even ELEV, you know, there's a certain point where I'm just gonna step away and then do something else, and that's really what I want my life to be consisted of. To have the freedom and the ability to just try new things and dedicate myself to projects, to companies, to social causes, whatever it may be at the moment. Do as much as I can, and then move on to the next thing, you know, because I have a lot of passions and there's a lot of things I want to do before I'm 6 foot deep. I'm probably just going to get cremated, but and I'm not, I'm just going to, you know, keep going from one thing to another. Like you said, nothing wrong with being a jack of all trades, but I think I'm going to need to scatter it throughout my lifetime. So yeah, after I'm done ELEV, I'm probably jumping into the next opportunity, the next really.
The next ELEV, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully ELEV becomes the next big thing, and people are saying, you know, instead of the next Tesla, people are saying, you know, or the next Airbnb, it's the next ELEV, right?
Honestly, it could even be the next doctor. You know, I could go back to school, or make use of my degree that I'm working so hard for. Maybe I'll go back and, you know, work as a nurse or start a clinic or travel, whatever it is, you know, just.
And it's all about keeping your options open and really not judging yourself for changing directions, because a lot of people, you know, they'll change, they'll they'll change faculties, or they'll change majors halfway through, and they feel like they're kind of far behind, or they feel like they're getting judged, or they made the wrong choice. But I think it's better to realize that early on, that you're not doing what you love, and make a change, rather than to stick with it and be unhappy just to avoid any sort of criticism, or for any sort of backlash from anybody, or judgment, just because just so you're unhappy, and it's not the way to go.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to contribute to the jack of all trades thing. I heard this summer, I don't know exactly what the quote is, but they said someone that has a super narrow, like they know a lot of things about one certain path. They're an expert, but someone that has a super broad knowledge and studies multiple things is able to develop a philosophy, and able to connect with many different people, and is able to like perhaps contribute more to society, because you are able to do more things with that knowledge and apply different things different places.
Exactly. Yeah. So some skills are definitely transferable. I agree with you, Jaden. But Kevin, thanks so much for coming on, being our first guest on the student series. Me and Jaden definitely have a strong passion for bringing personalities like you on, and future leaders like you that are trying to make a difference in early on, and sharing your stories. And it definitely brings a new level of relatability, because we go to the same school. It's great to see one of my peers doing something so extraordinary and something amazing. So good luck to you, and we're so happy that we chose you to be our first guest on this series. But thanks for coming on, and Jaden, if you have any last words.
Yeah, it was super good to meet you, and yeah, just continue doing what you're doing, and good luck with your launch. That's coming up in 2021, right?
Yes, it's coming up in 2021. However, if you or other students out there are looking for a place to stay or a place to live for the next semester, definitely follow us on Instagram at ELEV Homes, or check out our website at 𝑙evhomes.ca. And we will be dropping our very first alpha version up here in December. That's going to help you find your home away from home for the winter semester. However, it won't be the entire package, but it will be something, and that's still going to be helpful. And we will help you through the entire step of the way. And I really appreciate you guys having me on there. This is my first time being on a podcast, and I would love to be back whenever that may be, and contribute again some more. There's a lot of stories I didn't talk about, but some other days will
No, that's awesome. And and if for some people, if you need a place to go, not just next semester, Kevin has a place for you this semester too. So yeah, he's willing to put out his own place, right, Kevin?
Yes, sir. I am.
I'm just joking, but no, it was awesome having you on, Kevin. I'm looking forward to seeing the growth of ELEV. I think it's a fantastic idea, and it's definitely the next Airbnb for students. I love the idea. I love how the route came from your own personal experiences, and wishing you all the best, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right. And thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting us. We had a little bit of a break with some content, but we're back, and we're super excited to be making content, talking to amazing people like Kevin here, and hopefully bring you guys more content. But stay tuned. Check us out on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere, and hopefully we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.